pull up. Time to pull up at Bryan Cox's crib right outside Atlanta. Cox, the former New England Patriot, former Miami Dolphin, former New York Jet, and his son plays for the Buffalo Bills. So that makes Bryan the perfect person to ask, with Tom Brady leaving the AFC East and Bill Belichick going solo, perhaps with Jarrett Stidham. All right, Bryan, you're the expert. Who wins the AFC East this season?
The New England Patriots, of course. In my opinion, it's easy to say Buffalo is coming along nicely. They've had a good draft. They had a good season last year. Their quarterback's starting to play well. But until you dethrone the champs, you still have to go with the champ.
No, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills. My former team, you can just see them on the rise. 6 wins a couple of years ago, then 10 wins last year. They got the right coaching staff. They're drafting well, great personnel, additions to that personnel outside of your son, but Stephon Diggs, even Josh Norman, just to help out in the secondary, to a top 3 defense in the league that now has more weapons offensively and an emerging quarterback. And remember, as a collective, this is a team that was up 16-0 in the playoffs against Houston and let that game slip away. That bitter taste in their collective mouth, they're going to come back on fire on top of the talent that they have. It's the Buffalo Bills winning.
The only reason I'm going to disagree with you, Marcellus, because I'm not sold on Josh Allen. And I know they've added Stephon Diggs, but Josh Allen's not accurate enough for me. I tend to agree with Bryan that it's New England until they get knocked off. But just to be a little bit sexy here, my sleeper pick, the team that I think is actually going to have a chance, is the Miami Dolphins. I really like what Brian Flores did last season. People thought they were tanking. And then you go look over the last 8 games of the season. That team played really hard for him, and they won some games. I love the addition to Tua Tagovailoa. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick starting out the season. I love the offseason moves they've made in terms of not the draft, but also signing the corner Byron Jones. I like the Miami Dolphins as a sleeper team, and for Brian Flores to step out here and maybe shock some people and be the real competitor to the New England Patriots.
Well, I would just say this. I like what Miami has done, but they were so far behind. I think they're still playing catch-up. Really, legitimately, you got New England and you got Buffalo. How many times has Buffalo beaten New England in the last 2 years? They haven't. So when you look at it, when you look at it, they're still playing catch-up. So they haven't beaten them. They've closed the gap. They play better, but to dethrone the champs, you got to beat the champs. And I'll just say this. Everybody's sleeping on the fact that, the Patriots stayed pat with Stidham. You have to believe that Belichick, in his DNA, has prepared for Tom Brady moving on for some 4 or 5 years now. He must be really comfortable with Stidham to not pull the trigger, to move up in the draft to take a quarterback, to be in a situation where you bring Brian Hoyer back to be your backup. They don't take on veteran guys. They stay in a position or a situation where they stay the course.
All right, listen, let's move on and let's stick with the New England Patriots and let's stick with that topic of their quarterback situation. Andy Dalton released today by the Cincinnati Bengals. There were rumors early on in the offseason that the New England Patriots would be a landing spot perhaps for Andy Dalton. Maybe the Bengals tried to trade him, and that's why they're just now releasing him when there were no one willing to trade for him or whatever. But I think there's an interesting debate here. What's a better fit for the New England Patriots, Andy Dalton or Cam Newton, who's also still available?
Neither. I'm a shock a few people when I say that. But quarterback is the one position in the NFL, for the first time in quite some time, you got a surplus of starting quarterback. Cam is going to have to take a backup deal. So is Andy Dalton. I'm telling you, New England feels very comfortable with Stidham to sit pat through the draft and not have done anything. So I'm going to say one of those two guys is going to have to take a backup role somewhere, kind of like Jameis Winston has. But I don't foresee either one of those guys being able to step in the New England system and being able to play the way. They want quick thinkers, people to get the ball out of their hand quick. But more than anything, they want people that they can handpick to kind of choose to kind of show how they want them to play that position in the NFL.
Well, the answer is Cam Newton, and you really don't have to think about it that much. And this is no shot at Andy Dalton, who's a very good quarterback in our league. Despite his playoffs woes and not being able to get over that hump, still put up consistent winning, even in Cincinnati. And some would say with a breath of fresh air or a change of scenery, you may even get more out of him. But just think, use your imagination in terms of, is there a limit for Andy Dalton? And most people will say, yeah, it feels like there is a ceiling to Andy Dalton. But then when you think about Cam Newton, if he comes back with a clean bill of health and can just stay healthy, which every single player is asked to in the NFL, stay healthy, where does your imagination go when it comes to Cam Newton? Sky's the limit. You don't even have a ceiling in terms of what he can't do. He had his second best year last year before injury. And his best year, obviously, was an MVP year. So for all the people who say his good football so far behind him, no, it's not. It was in 2018 we saw Cam Newton looking great. So the point is, if you really want to take a shot, if you really want to take a flyer on one of these guys, you got to go with the one with the endless potential still, and that's Cam Newton.
Listen, by default, I'm going to say Andy Dalton, and it's really for the reasons Bryan mentioned in terms of New England as an offense, get the ball out of your hands quick and on time and where it's supposed to be. That's not Cam Newton. The ball doesn't come out on time. His footwork and his mechanics a lot of times is bad. It doesn't come out quick. And so Cam Newton, the sky's the limit. You're right. If he's healthy and in the right offensive system. Bryan, I just don't believe the system in New England is built for a Cam Newton, and that's why I think Andy Dalton would be a better fit of the two.
Andy Dalton would be a better fit of the two if they did it, but I don't foresee either one of them going to New England because, you know, they want to draft a guy, they want to groom a guy, they want to bring him along, they want to do it the Patriot way. And when you bring veteran quarterbacks in there that don't have experience in the New England system, I think it could set things awry for those guys. You know, New England has a DNA and they believe in their system. And so they must be quite comfortable that Stidham or Hoyer, one of them will be able to do the system, excuse me. If you remember when Tom Brady got hurt a few years back, they brought Matt Castle in, and he was the guy that they had groomed, and he played, and he had got a big payday to go to Kansas City. Bring guys in. I could see them trying to go back and maybe get Jacoby Brissett or somebody that has ties to New England, but they won't bring an outside in at the quarterback. That position is too important for them.
Well, look, you talk about New England's system, it's going to change. We think about New England as always having this stagnant system because they had the same quarterback for 20 years. And even Bill Belichick said, when I had the opportunities to put other guys in, when I was forced to, guess what they did? They changed their system, tweaks here, tweaks there. You get a Cam Newton, Bill Belichick and his genius, who used to run a two-man front in the playoffs? You think he's not going to change because he now has a different quarterback? Oh, no, he's Brady. Give him Brady's plays because he can only do what Brady does. Come on, y'all. This is Bill Belichick. He's pliable. Y'all crazy. Yes. Belichick will adjust. That's what he does. Come on, y'all.
Not going to happen.
Hey.
All right, let's keep it rolling.
Okay. You have to understand.
We're going to keep it rolling. We're going to move
to Oh, let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, keep it rolling.
We're going to move to Baltimore. Adam Shine, the radio host, had Eric DeCosta, the general manager for the Baltimore Ravens, on and asked him specifically about Baltimore perhaps